You're listening to the Otasso Outdoors Podcast.
Do.
Whoa.
That was loud.
Was it? Am I pretty hot in your ears?
I don't know.
Do we do it? Well, I was talking kind of loud because I thought my mic was maybe muted. We're back.
We are so back.
So rusty.
This is like, I don't know, this is like first date kind of nervous.
Kinda. Yeah, we came down to the bunker tonight and had to I don't even know how to do my mics. I'm in my wrong chair. Had to knock the dust off everything.
Yeah, this is really, really weird. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Otasso Outdoors Podcast. I'm Caleb. I'm your host, and I am joined by my co-host, Reed Robinson.
Howdy.
Hunter Grishke is not with us because he is currently elbows deep in a doe.
Deer down.
Deer down. If you're tuning into the show for the first time, you're likely to find one of three segments. Segment number one is What You Got, Buddy? That's where we bring headlines, pre-prepared articles, and we discuss them at length. Segment number two.
Segment number two is our Spotlight series where we search our network of people and friends in the outdoors industry and we bring them on into the bunker, have them on the podcast, and get to know who they are and bring you guys along for the ride. Segment number three.
Segment number three is our head-to-head game show where we bring some pre-prepared questions and quizzes, and then the two people in the bunker or more go head-to-head, and we crown a champion.
We need to do a head-to-head with the wives. That would be fun.
So we want you guys to tap in the comments on this. One of our most listened to episodes is the Wives Tell All episode.
Great
and
time.
We're going to run that back because Mr. Reed here is officially hitched.
I got hitched. Tattooed on the finger. Never coming off.
He got married. So
Married a bow hunter, too. I kind of lucked out.
that's a big win.
Big win. She's been hunting more than me this year, so that kind of not big win. Yeah, but Papa's keeping the lights on.
Attaboy, Poppy.
Also a stepdad now, too. Super excited about that. 3 awesome kids. Excited to bring them up into hunting.
Stepdaddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's a lot of fun. Getting the kids bows. I'm looking at getting them a 22 for Christmas because it's just getting them in the outdoors, building forts. And
Forget about the 22. Just go straight for 50 BMG.
well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all fun.
Turning woodchucks into red mist.
It's all fun and games until Eden touches off 50 BMG in the basement. No, the kids.
Why is there water pouring in the foundation?
No, dude, it's been a wild shift because it's like, as a bachelor, I could leave guns out around the house and they are all loaded all the time. But now I got to get really sneaky about, I have a couple guns that are stashed away, loaded in case I need to defend the home. Everything else, like we went out and bought a safe and jammed them in the safe because it's like, yep, can't do that anymore.
Right.
Not worth it. Mindset shifts, and it's like no bueno. So, but it's been a lot of fun.
It's
been
a pretty
a lot of
big
fun.
shift.
Yeah, and dude, they're so interested in all things outdoors. If we're out shooting our bow, my middle daughter Mila, she's like, "Can I shoot with you?" And it's like, well, you can't draw the spec, but let's get you a bow. So
That's cool. I like that. That's awesome. Well, season update. What you got?
slow season for me. I shot I fulfilled my one rule that I switched for this year, which is the 3F rule. Filled the freezer first. Early season shot a doe. Got out in the stand with a bow, and it wasn't super early, but mid-October. Just put a really good sized doe down and got it processed up right away. And luckily, I got a friend that, with how warm it's been this year, it's been really tough to shoot a deer and hang them.
Yeah,
that's
true.
So not that stopped me, but luckily I got a couple buddies in the area that do have freezers that we could store them in, so that's been a lot more convenient.
Sweet.
Yep, got them processed up and got the freezer filled, and now I'm just looking for antlers. Got a couple deer on camera or at least one deer on camera that I've been following for a few years that I really want to get down. It's just so hard to get on. And we were having this conversation earlier in the week. Just such little data on how he's moving, and getting more cameras out and spread out along the path that I think he's running, and then just trying to dial in his patterns is going to be the move. But he's elusive as all get out.
You guys should jump in on the comments on this and let us know if you've noticed a weird shift in deer this year. Because I'm wondering if it's tied to the weather. Because
It's been warm.
I have really struggled to pattern any deer this year. It's like, even on a feeding pattern, it's so irregular. They'll show up everywhere on the farm, all different cameras, like no consistency whatsoever.
We had 1 week of a cold snap where, I mean, it was what, mid-October. We had 3 days where it was like chilly. You know, you threw your sweatshirt
Yeah,
on.
it was a cold front weekend, and that's about it.
That
Outside
was
of that,
it.
it's been 50s.
60s, even into the 70s some days. Like,
Yeah,
I've been sweating.
3 days ago.
Yeah.
Got a 30-degree temperature swing in the last 3 days.
Right. Today was the first snowfall. I woke up this morning, there was snow sitting on top of the house and sitting on the deck. And, you know, we actually got some like decent snow coming down today, and it was sitting out in the grass and the fields and stuff like that. It looked good. So, but even then it ended up switching into a slushy rain. But this is the first real cold front that I've seen, and it's end of November.
Yeah.
Mid-November. It's like,
Yeah.
goodness.
I think we're already in lockdown because I've noticed activity dropping significantly.
Even on camera?
Yes, my cameras went cold today. Like ice cold out of nowhere. Just boop, dead.
Yep.
I did see a squirrel orgy, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a little train on a tree?
So I was sitting, I'm sitting in my stand today, and there's this massive, like 20-inch in diameter cottonwood
What?
in front of me.
Oh. I was like, all right, I give up.
But he's packing. No, big cottonwood tree with this little, like, you know, where like a branch would have broken off. It's kind
Yeah.
of like a knot almost,
Yeah.
with a hole in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there throughout my entire hunt, and I watched 5 different red squirrels come up that tree and go into that hole. Now, I don't know what they were doing in there, but you could hear
There was
them.
a lot of squealing.
There was. Yes, that was something else. Another reason why we think red squirrels should have been left off the ark.
Did you bring the blowgun?
No, I don't trust my accuracy. Maybe that just needs to be left at home.
No.
Shout out to our good friend Tim Bootsma with Doe Patrol, because I really hated red squirrels, and he said, get a blowgun. So I got a blowgun, and then Reed and I spent a couple hours in the living room playing darts with it, and we realized how not accurate it is.
A $15 blowgun is. Yeah. You need a longer shaft. You do. You were rocking with something that was like, what, 24 inches?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just got to get a longer one.
Cool. Extension. Extends.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Just shave off all the little extra frilly stuff. You'll get like an extra couple inches out of it. It'll be good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, something that we've been wanting to talk about lately, and we'd be really interested to hear a lot of your guys' opinions on, is we have been extremely intrigued by saddles and mobile hybrid setups. Now, the reason that this has come about is the property that I hunt. It's 75 acres. I've got about 14 stands out there for different winds, and I have sensed a trend of year 3. I'm really still trying to figure the property out. And the frustrating thing is there are times where I can't close the distance, where I'm seeing my target deer walking in certain areas, but I don't have a stand there. And so I need to pivot quickly. And so that's got my wheels turning about saddles. And so naturally I've been shopping for the saddle route, but I also love sitting. There's just something about being able to stand and sit and stand and sit. So I want you saddle guys to chime in and say, once you start hanging in a saddle, do you forget all about wanting to sit, like on a hang-on stand? Because that's where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out if I want to build a mobile hybrid setup where it's like saddle and small stand in sticks opposed to just saddle platform and sticks. While Reed's over here building his own saddle setup right now, which is pretty badass.
So here's my journey with saddles. I had no idea what they were until probably the beginning of the year, or maybe last year. We had a couple guys that were talking about hunting saddles, and Daniel DeForge, I think, was the first one that brought it up, and I was like, interesting. And then during a couple different trade shows, shopping around different places together, I started to pick up more interest in them, and it's just got all the cool gear that I love. It's a bunch of different systems between the dump pouches, between trying to compact everything down into something as small as possible so you can be tactical in and out. It just seems like a really interesting setup to me. It catches my attention a lot. Well, when you start pricing everything out, it gets expensive fast, like everything else in hunting. And
Right.
Is it something that I could go drop the cash on right now? Sure. But would it be selfish? Kinda. Like amongst the other things that I need to...
Right. The kiddos need a 50 BMG for Christmas.
Kiddos need a 50 BMG. Yeah. Wife needs a new bow or a KitchenAid upright mixer or something like that. She makes really good sourdough bread. It's awesome.
Speaking of which, have you seen the new line of KitchenAid that's OD Green?
No.
They have a whole lineup now. Mixers, espresso machines, everything. And it's all like this OD Green with gold trim.
Oh. Hot dang. All right. So if you got OD Green with, instead of gold trim, blaze orange trim, I'm in. Yep. Okay. So saddles. It's really hard to justify like the complete setup that you want for $850 to $900. And even if you go on a Black Friday shopping sale, you're still going to pay $650 to $700 for your harness, your like lineman's rope, your tether, your stick. You're like,
I'm thinking that's low.
That's low.
That's even on a sale. Like I went to Latitude, tethered, and cruiser, and I filled my cart with everything I need. That's going to be platform, sticks, saddle, dump pouches, lineman's rope, and pack. And I was at 1,100 with Latitude. I was at about 875 with tethered and about 900 with cruiser.
Okay. Very expensive.
Yeah.
But
think about how much tree stands cost. If you're spending
right
$250 a pop and you've got 8 tree stands.
Well, like a guy like me, I got 4 tree stands out. And like they're nothing special, nothing great.
Still at $200 a piece though.
Right. And and here's how I've hunted over the years. I've just found a lot of junky tree stands that people left behind, or I've got into a property and somebody says, go take every tree stand down that's out there because they're not supposed to be. So I just yank them out and then cool, new tree stand. They're not great, but they work. So I've never spent a ton of money on tree stands at all. They've either been given to me or I've just collected them over the years. And so I look at spending $1,100 on a full setup that I want, and it's like, that's a lot of money. Well, I came into some tree climbing equipment on a real kind of out of the left field circumstance the other day. I was walking out of Home Depot and saw a guy that looked like he made knives because he was wearing a kilt. He does make knives out of railroad ties. Don't remember his name.
You went and said, hello, brother.
Yeah, hello, do you make knife? Phil, maybe?
Wrong country. I don't think they wear kilts in Russia.
Dude, it's all the same.
I'd pay big money to see Putin in a kilt, though.
I'm sure there's a website for that, or AI is very quickly advancing.
Keep talking.
Anyways, Philip was the guy's name. And we just got to talking about like bull crap. I don't know what it was. And we were talking about like knife making, and then all of a sudden we started talking about tree trimming for whatever reason. He's like, oh yeah, I used to be an arborist, and he would like research trees, so he'd have to like scale up them and climb them. And the guy's like, he's pretty heavy. He's like 3.5 bills, 300 to 350 pounds. And he's like, yeah, I have all this tree climbing equipment that I don't use anymore. I'm looking to get rid of it. I'm like, what are you willing to sell it for? He's like, I just want to get rid of it. I was like, I'll come get it. And he's like, sweet, come over to my house. And so I drive over to this guy's house, and he just gives me all his tree climbing equipment. Mind you, on the way over, I call Caleb, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to some random stranger's house that looks like the craziest dude I've ever met. I'm going to call you 20 minutes because I might be like tied up in this guy's basement. give me a call back. Sure enough, he just has a bunch of tree climbing equipment. And he gives it to me. And I'm looking through all the pieces and parts, and I'm like, this is pretty much everything you need for a saddle setup. And then I got a real junky old trashed out tree stand that I just cut up into pieces and welded back together for my actual like platform. And I'm going to try to piece the whole thing together and see if I can't get a saddle setup just to see how often I'll use it and how much I'll like it, and be like, hey, if this works, it'll work. But if it's terrible because of the equipment is bad, then that'll push me into like saying, okay, I need to go buy a harness and I need to go buy better rope or whatever it may end up being. That quick?
AI is not that good anymore.
No.
What I got kind of looks like a cross between Legolas.
It does look like Legolas from here.
Legolas looks like he just conquered a nation wearing a kilt. So,
nice.
Yeah. Failure.
Bummer. You need to use Grok next time.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to piece the whole thing together. It might not be, yeah, you found the little piece of gear. That's a little pry bar.
I thought it was a little Coke spoon.
No. I just used the pinky. Yeah, a little pry bar on my keychain. So, anyways, I'm going to try to piece the whole thing together. I got all the parts and pieces laying around in some way, shape, or form. It's not going to be as compact. It's not going to be as light. It's not going to be as pretty. But I think it's going to work.
I love it. Hopefully you don't fall.
Dude, I tried out those tree climbing sticks or the tree spikes for the first time. I'm like, I'm just going to teach myself, and
don't you have sticks already?
No, sorry, the tree spikes. Like, cause the tree climbing gear came with the spikes.
Yeah.
I haven't had those before.
Yeah, but would you actually hunt with those?
I thought about it, but
once you get on the platform, it's just...
Well, yeah, I thought about it because like I could get up in the tree, set my platform with those, and then just stand on the platform, and then that's no problem, and I don't even need sticks.
Forget the platform.
Well, here's the thing: after falling out of the tree twice with them, yeah, and it's just like you just go straight down the side of the tree.
Spooky.
Yeah, and it's like whatever. Because you got your tether around the tree, you just kind of slide down it and hug it really tight. It's not like a fast fall.
Yeah.
Just hurts. And but I went up the tree one time, and the amount of damage you do to the bark with those spikes, it's like if I'm going up the tree with those spikes, it's because I'm going to take it down, not just because, or I'm going to go save the neighbor's cat or something like that. But it's not worth doing that to a tree you're going to be hunting out of this year or in the future, because you're just going to mar up the tree. It's like that conversation we were having about, like, I don't like putting the spikes in the tree either.
Right. Well, if you're sticking with the budget setup, Hawk Helium's midway right now, I think you can get $80 for 4 2-steps.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's cheap.
That's the way to go.
I've got the triple Hawks. They're a little wide and clunky, so if it's a matter of going in and having them compact better, $80 for a 4-pack.
That and the just throwing the piece of cable on the bottom of them.
The aider.
Yeah, the aider. Like, not even the one that you wear, just the one that goes on the actual step.
Just to get you a little higher on the first one.
Yeah. Like, that's a phenomenal system. Compact, light, easy to get up and down. The biggest thing that we were talking about the other day is if I'm going to have a setup like that, I want the attachment system to be really seamless. Like, I want to be able to throw that thing around the tree and just like, I don't want to be dealing with clamps or like doing too many crazy steps.
Here's the thing, and that's where the Hawk versus, say, tethered or latitude, because a friend of ours just got the tethered Skeletors, and the cable, the braided like diamond cable that they have is just crazy.
Is it a metal cable or is it a?
It's like it's the kind of stuff they use like winch. It's a synthetic, kind of like a soft winch cable.
Yeah,
but it's really thin. And the Skeletors have this square with 4 different notches, and literally you take it around and you just go foop foop foop. It's like a boat cleat.
Which, once again, I could build that.
Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah. I got enough scrap steel laying around. I could file it so it's not going to cut my rope.
Yeah. And then the problem with the Hawk ones are there's this little knob. It's kind of shaped kind of what's in your hand.
A little cork.
Yeah. And it's like facing out like that. And then for those of you that are familiar with hammocks, like the Enus back in the day that were really popular, they had those straps that had like all the individual loops on it. I don't know what they're called, a daisy chain or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be like a daisy
But
chain.
that's what the Hawk ones come with, is these daisy chains.
And does it just loop over that?
Yes. So you start
but
on
you
the
can't get
end
the
and you
tightness
go
that
all the
you
way
want.
around. Yeah, you have to. It actually ends up starting a little loose, and then you have to jam it down to get it to cinch.
Right.
Which I'd rather be able to go around parallel, do, and then pull down.
Yeah.
So the Hawks are a little clunky. If they could just change their system. Now those little pegs that are on the Hawk ones, there is a screw, like a bolt that holds it on.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably could jerry rig something where you swap that out too.
Yeah.
But sounds like you're all about the redneck saddle.
It really is. By the end of this, it's going to be a redneck saddle. And I don't know if that's...
Might as well build your own bow out of PVC and some bungee cords too.
Hey, just don't keep giving me ideas. We'll have a whole new lineup. But like, it's just, one of the things that Jordan's my business partner, and one of the things that him and I talk about a lot is if you keep pushing off things that you need or things that you want, let's say, and even things that you want that you can justify as a need. We need this piece of equipment. We need this tool. We need this. If you keep pushing it off, you'll find ways to get the job done without that piece of equipment or without that tool.
But at what cost?
Right.
Time.
Sometimes, yeah. And so eventually you do get to the point where it's like, hey, we do need this.
Because
And
time is more valuable than sometimes than the extent of trying to figure it out.
right. But for something like this, it's like if I have all of the parts and pieces laying around, and we had this conversation, like let's say you drop the $1,100 on the full Latitude setup, and you're like, this is it. This is everything. You go out and you hate it.
That's
like
exactly where I'm at right
You're
now.
like, it doesn't accomplish everything I want it to. You're like, even let's say you're 70% satisfied with it, but you're still like, was that really worth it? Am I going to use it all the time? If I don't love this method of hunting, it's like, am I really going to do it, or am I just going to go back to a hang-on?
Right.
And I don't hear many guys that are going to hang-ons, but you do see a lot of marketplace saddles, like a lot of people getting rid of them.
I don't know. You guys will have to chime in and fact check me on this one, but the word on the street is with tree stands and saddles, if you buy them from a retailer or online, there's some Michigan law that says you can't return. They're non-returnable because of liability. I don't know if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I've seen that a lot. So that's more what my concern is. I get a saddle and I'm like, I hate it. And then I got to sell it on Marketplace. So that's where I'm kind of at, more of just having a sweet hybrid setup. And shout out to Tim Bootsma. He put me onto XOP. They make the Cold War and the Renegade. The Renegade's platform is 14 by 24, I think. So
24 wide.
24 long by 14 wide.
So it's like,
It's basically like a saddle platform, just a little bit bigger. It's, in theory, it's a saddle platform with a seat. It's a hang-on. So in my mind, where I'm at is like, you get the retrograde, which is the 14 by 24 with the seat.
Yep.
Hangs on. You get the Skeletor sticks from Tethered, which are less than 2 pounds each. You get the Ranger 22 backpack. And this is where I'm at. It's like, we love systems here. We've talked about systems and figuring out like what works the best for you. There's nothing against the guys who are brand loyalists who go out and it's just like, I'm going to buy all this brand. Like, I'm that way with Sitka just because I love the systems. I love the material. I love all of that. But with this kind of thing, I'm looking at every angle where I want some more versatility. And XOP, for those of you who don't know, they have this saddle system called the Mondo. And what the Mondo does is it is both a saddle and a full body harness. So it's integrated. So you have shoulder straps and a tether above your shoulder blades. So say, for instance, I want to climb this tree. I've got my sticks. I get up. I hang my hybrid hang-on, which is pretty much a saddle platform with a seat, just a little bit bigger. I get my lineman's rope up and everything. I hook up. I'm saddle hunting. Boom. Cool. Halfway through the hunt, I'm like, man, I'm tired of hanging. I really want to sit down and treat this like a hang-on. All I got to do is stand up, unhook my rope, turn around, hook the lineman's rope to my loop behind me. Boom. I'm in a hang-on. Best of both worlds in one system. And it packs down the retro. I mean, Tim's got the Cold War, which is 17 by 26. and he said it packed down and fit under the seat in front of him on an airplane. That's
Really?
that's how compact these systems are. And the stand is 6.1 pounds. So between that and the sticks, you are hovering right around 10 pounds for everything. And if for us private land guys that are not having to huff it in 2.5, 3 miles and walk around a ton, that's tempting, because I found that with XOP, I can get the stand, I can get the tethered sticks, I can get the Ranger 22 backpack from Latitude, I can get the Mondo saddle, I can get the XOP saddle platform and all the lineman ropes and dump pouches for the same price as I can an entire saddle setup from Latitude. It's hard to argue with that, because then I'm also getting a sweet, mobile, quick pivot hang-on system for less than, and a saddle system for less than just a saddle system. Because in my mind, if I can get to the point where if I need to pivot quickly in a day, I know I have a window where I've seen a deer in a certain area, but I just can't close that distance and I need to move 60 yards to the north, I can do that now with ease with a system that packs down really, really compact. So that's at least where I'm at with it. Less ingenuity than you.
Well, I'm just kind of broke right now. It's really what it boils down to. It's like, I got the stuff laying around. I may as well try to make something of it. And it's like, here's the thing. If I get up in whatever system I end up building and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is the most fun hunting I've ever done. It really does change the way I do it. It makes me want to do it more. I want to get out there. It's like, okay, then I'm just going to start buying the necessary things.
You know what we should start doing? We should start ordering cheap Chinese hunting gear off of AliExpress and doing China reviews. Because I wonder if they have hunting saddles.
I don't know if I want that. It's like when you could get a COVID test that had was Chinese approved. And it's like, I don't trust.
You mean all of them?
Dude, it was like this weird, that had like this Chinese stamp of approval, like this is a certified COVID test. And I'm like, I think this is going to give me COVID. Like, I don't trust that. Are you telling me that the quality control of Shiling Ping is going to be good enough to... I trust myself. Like, I trust my terrible 110 amp welds over...
Would you pay $250 for a Fanatic set?
No.
They sell them.
I know they do. Frenetic.
And here's the thing, though. It's got the logos and everything.
It's wild. They can just do whatever they want.
They can.
I don't know how they get away with it.
They say screw you to the system. Also, yeah, if you guys are looking for any kind of Benchmade knife, AliExpress, $17.50. Even says Benchmade. It's really dull.
Is it really?
Yeah, terrible. Okay, well, let's pivot. Oh, wait, you were to finish your thought.
No, that's just it. I mean, all the craze is cool. And I feel like saddles are the big thing right now, which is awesome. Like, how bow hunting got big and everybody's a bow hunter. Love that.
That's why cool. I'm skeptical.
That's super cool. Same thing's happening with saddles. They're like, you got to go to a saddle. And I think it offers you better, but I can't really talk on it because I've never hunted out of one, So that's why I want to try it. That's why I want to get into it, because I want to know what the craze is about. When people talk about having more shooting lanes and being able to wrap around trees and hide and come in and out of places and be more tactical, I'm like, that sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. Is it really a better system than a tree stand?
That's exactly why I want to meet right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Because I'm so used to tree stands. I love tree stands. Everything's it's a fixed position. I know when I'm climbing, I know right where my foot pegs are. I know how to safely get on each stand. I know exactly where my harness is going to hook on. And I don't know. I just want the versatility to be able to do both. That's at least where I'm at with it. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Anyway, we have news, and it's not good news.
It's very bad news.
Very, very bad news. And and it's probably changed since yesterday. If those of you guys who tuned in and saw our story yesterday, we posted some of the Michigan deer harvest numbers so far in 2024. And I'm just pulling it up so we can get an update here. Here is our 2024 report total. Now, this is of deer that have been reported in the new app. Also, cool thing, if you have killed deer this year and reported in the DNR app with like your tag number and all of that stuff. Last year we talked about how a big like grief part was having to drop a pin where you killed the deer. And we used to unintentionally mess around with the DNR and drop pins in rivers and lakes and Walmart parking lots and everything just to throw Big Brother off of our trail.
I always got to drop it on top of a grocery store somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
cellos.
I think the DNR got the message because they changed it to where the county is every county, wherever you're at, is broken into like 8 segments. There's like regions within a county, and all you have to do is select the region on where you killed the deer. And boom, nobody needs to know your sweet hunting spot. So shout out to you guys for sending a message to the DNR. On to our 2024 report total.
I wonder if they got complaints on that or if they just saw people dropping pins like yahoos. And they're just like, all right, this ain't working. Or they just thought there was a mad glitch in their system.
I wonder if they used it. I wonder if they changed that to try to incentivize people to actually report deer, because I'm willing to bet a lot of the guys that do their own like the only reason I have to do the reporting is because I take it to the processor. The processor will not take the deer unless I report it.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is gonna incriminate me or not, but like I completely forgot to this year.
Right.
I processed my own deer. And I was like, oh shoot, out of the 72-hour window. Dang.
Yep.
And so like I feel bad because I want to give the DNR good numbers. I want them to have good data, but I'm just like,
Well, all we have is bad data.
We do. We got bad news.
Why don't you take a guess at our total harvest number that we are at so far for 2024 as of 7:46 p.m. on November 21st, 2024. Total deer harvest number so far.
Oh, 164,212.
Close. You're shy by 20,000.
That's a big jump.
So we are at 184,102 deer total harvested.
103.
Of those 184,000 deer harvested, 121,396 of them are antlered deer.
Oh my.
62,000 are antlerless deer.
Oh my God.
That is disgusting. Shame on all of you.
That's so brutal. Twice as many deer are getting shot with antlers.
Double. And the number keeps growing. Yesterday was 118 to 60. So
this is just on the app?
This is just on the DNR e-license website.
Oh, do you have to go to the e-license or the website, or can you just go on their app?
Also, shout out Wayne County. They've put down $233 somehow. Let's see, Oakland County, $1,264, 510. All of these suck. This is awful. Ingham County is at least doing their part. $2,022, 1,052 doe.
What was that again?
$2,022, 1,052 doe.
Still though, it's a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, that's
so brutal.
Let's see which county is. What do you think? Which county is performing the most? We're gonna give you guys
Washington,
a shout out. All right, we've got Allegan with 3,597. We've got Calhoun County with 3,165. We've got Eaton County 3,275. So Eaton is showing up there. I feel like I'm part of like an election show. 3,597. Ooh, we got Gratiot County with 4,191.
So here's the thing about Gratiot County too. You start getting up into those counties up there, Gratiot, Midland, Mount Pleasant area. Not Midland, but Gratiot and Mount Pleasant. There are so many Amish up there murking doe, like
and
everything.
and not reporting.
Well,
jack.
first of all, there's no way for them to report. Second of all,
they can go to the local library.
can they really? Like the amount of deer that they shoot is insane. If you're next to an Amish farm, you're not killing deer. What's that face for?
All right. We have a pretty close tie. Sanilac County and Saginaw County are the two highest harvest numbers right now. We've got 5,300 in Saginaw, and we have 5,366 in Sanilac. That's a lot of deer. That's kind of over by that's up in the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Shout out to you guys. You are doing the most, but you're also not killing enough does. I'm going to take a dump on Sanilac. They're at $33.89 for bucks, and they're at $1,900 for does. This is awful. Like, I want to spend some time on this and break this down, because I posted this on our story a couple days ago, and we got a lot of responses, and this kind of stirred up a lot of things, because I'm trying to figure out what can be done. So I'm going to give my take, and I want to hear your opinion. So my take is not enough people are killing does because they want to get their buck. This is the time of year where I scroll through Facebook, and it is 6 point after 6 point after 6 point after little 8 after squibble deer. Now, don't get me wrong. If I see a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old behind a spike or a 6 point, and it says,
I admonish them, you suck, don't hunt anymore.
Here's the thing. If he's behind it and it says, Jimmy went out with his grandpa and was able to get his first buck, awesome. I'm all about that. Don't do that. Don't do that again, Jimmy. Like, that's it.
Jimmy, no, don't do it again.
That's your one. Like, you got your deer, you got the fix.
That's your mulligan.
Yes.
Louder
for the people in the back.
You shot your mulligan buck. You get one in your entire life. Don't screw it up again.
Right. Like, I've never killed, like, my first buck was probably a 85-inch 8 point.
Mine was probably much smaller than that. Little 6 point. Itty bitty guy.
So I see full-grown men that have been hunting their whole lives. Like, they're not new to hunting, they're not figuring it out, and they are shooting 6 points, and anywhere from not half year, because those are button bucks. Some guys are shooting those, which problems, but 1.5 to 2.5-year-old deer. And I can't wrap my brain around why. It does not make sense to me, and I say it's a culture problem, and I got challenged by that because I brought it up to somebody this week when I said it was a culture problem.
Who?
Somebody in my office.
Okay.
He's a public land hunter, and he goes out when he can, and he bow hunts and gun hunts. And he told me, he said, it's not a culture problem, it's a time problem. And I partially agree with that. Because if you were a guy who, in the span of the 2 or 3 month season, you don't have the time to practice with a bow or a crossbow to get good. So you have a shotgun, and all you want to do is fill the freezer, and you don't care. Like, you were not educated, and you don't care about management, conservation, because you don't know. You were never educated by another generation. You were never educated by somebody you know. You don't understand how population work. You don't understand how herd management works. You don't understand how habitat management works. You don't know, and you don't care. You spend most of your week working, spending time with your kids, taking care of your family, watching football on the weekends. Like, that's your life. And then for 3 weeks out of the year, or 2 weeks out of the year, you get an opportunity to either go to deer camp with your buddies, or you can head into your woods at your parents' property and shoot deer. Of course you're going to, if something with antlers walks in front of you, you're going to want to shoot it instead of a doe, because you don't know. So this is my argument. I'm willing to bet that it's not a culture problem. I think you have a large demographic of the population who just don't care. And then you have a large demographic of the population who do care. So where's the middle ground? And I think the middle ground, it comes to the DNR where you like, if you really, they're pleading with people in articles to kill more doe. We've seen it. What are they doing about it? There's like, they try to extend the season January to January 26th, $5 tags for late antler this year. But your guy, your weekend warrior, whoever it may be, he's not going to want to go out in sub-zero weather to try to hunt a doe down to kill it. Because the person who's going out in January, the ones that are going out in January are really, they're the ones that care about the conservation, and they're going to be going after does, specifically for herd management aspects. And then you've got the one token guy who couldn't get it done during regular season, and he wants to fill his freezer. And that's it. So I don't know if that is going to incentivize or solve anything.
So under that line of thought, like the solution to that would be an earn a buck.
Right. But we also know that the earn a buck is almost impossible to do because it's got to go through legislation.
Very hard to do.
It's going to be very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything that the NRC can deal with.
Right.
Heck, we saw a bunch of things put in front of the NRC this year in regards to deer management stuff, and 90% of it fell flat except for like 2. Like extended season in Oakland County, or it was an early doe season in Oakland County.
Mm-hmm.
They even restricted stuff in the UP, just like some stuff that just didn't make sense. I'm just at the point where I am so dumbfounded at the lack of does that are being killed. I mean, we talked with Colby Bettis up at Two Hats Ranch. If you have not listened to that episode, you should go back and find it. It's really, really fascinating because these guys live and breed deer. They have a couple thousand acre high fence ranch, and 1,300 acre high fence ranch, and they understand the breeding of does. They understand genetics and everything like that. And he said that a healthy buck to doe ratio is 2 bucks to 1 doe, correct?
Yes.
Which is insane.
Backwards of what we're shooting.
Yes. Absolutely insane to think about. 2 bucks to 1 doe is a healthy population. And he said in the wild, that's not sustainable. There's no way.
You can't do it in the wild, but
there's no way we're going to get to it. But even if we could get to 3 to 1, that's where I think if we can get even to 2 or 3 to 1, as far as 3 does to 1 buck, we might look like Kansas or Iowa or Illinois. So we're at I would be willing to bet we're at 9 to 10 to 1 right now.
Really? There's no way.
Dude, I'm sitting in my stand last night and I saw one little forky, one little spike, and then probably 15 to 20 does.
Yeah,
pour into the field.
Well, does tend to stay herded up more than bucks, almost always, especially this time of year. Like bucks are satellite; they're just running, and then you get in late season.
Maybe it's all in pockets then.
January, February,
where you're hunting,
and it's like all doe.
What number would you put on it as far as our ratio right now from what you've seen?
I'd probably say 4 to 1.
Which 4 to 1 in my mind, 4 to 1 is not terrible, but I think we're way more than that.
I mean, it's
double. I mean, even just the harvest numbers is double. So like in my mind, this is where the NRC, the DNR, whoever it may be, we need to figure out how to incentivize killing does. And I don't necessarily think the earn a buck makes sense, because there's somebody out there who only needs 1 deer a year and they want to go after the mature deer on their property. And so they're going to shoot the mature deer on their property, but then the only reason they won't kill a doe is they don't have anywhere to take it. They don't want to pay to have it processed. They They don't understand that you can donate it. The donation options are pretty slim. It's just, it's a frustrating thing to think about. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody today, and they said on any given night in their bean field, they've got 30 to 40 deer.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, late season, we've thought about coming out with 5 or 6 guys and just whacking and stacking 7 to 10 doe.
Yep.
And they're like, we really don't have a plan in force yet because we don't know what to do with them. And that right there opened my eyes. I'm like, this is why people aren't shooting does.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what to do with them. They're not going to their church. They're not going to the local school. They're not doing the legwork, or they're not thinking to do the legwork of how do we get rid of these deer. They're thinking about, I'm going to kill these deer, then I got to gut 9 deer, and then I got to either spend the time in the barn cutting these deer up, grinding them, and then figuring out where to take the meat, or I got to pay $100, $120 a pop to get these deer processed. And so they're instantly forgetting about it. They're like, all right, I'll shoot my deer and then let everybody else worry about their thing.
Yeah. It is absolutely, when you kill a deer, it's like, all right, there's a lot of work ahead of you. Game on for sure. And that part is tough. You know, you got to sit down and make time. And it's like the last few deer that I shot and processed on my own, it's like, I was up till 2 a.m. getting everything squared away with them. It's just like, if you're going to hang them, go to work, let them hang for a couple days, go to work, and then you get home at like 6 o'clock and you start cutting up. Or if you start at 8 o'clock, it's like, it's going to be 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. That's because I'm bad at it. Tim Bootsman would probably hear that number and be like, rookie. But it's a lot of work. But, if you care about this sport and you really think about, hey, I want to keep this long term and keep it around, eventually the DNR's arm is going to get twisted to the point where it's like, hey, we have to do something. So right now people have the opportunity, they have the freedom to choose what they want to do. And if the DNR is saying, advising you, this is like your parent telling you, hey, you can do whatever you want because the laws say it right now, I would highly recommend you do this, or we would really like it if you did this. If they're saying you need to go shoot more does, go shoot more does. It's like, cool, then go do it, because they're going to get to a point, they have an idea and they know, they've done the research, they're doing the studies. They're going to get to the point where they're going to say, we have no other option, so we are doing this.
Yeah, we're either going to take your tax dollars and we're going to use them and pay for culls, or we're going to start euthanizing deer, or we're going to start sterilizing deer.
Yeah, and it's like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants it.
No.
So, or they're going to be like, hey, you lost your double buck tag, which, good, but people are going to throw a fit about that. Or like, hey, we're going to earn a buck tag because this just is not working. Like, it's not sustainable anymore. And that's maybe where we're getting to. I don't know. Michigan has a very large carrying capacity, but you wonder, okay, Oakland County has an extended season and they're like pushing for more doe. Oakland County, it's down here in Detroit. Nobody cares. They are driven nuts by the deer right now. They are
even
up the wall.
Right where we're at here. Like, they have a quota of 380 a year. The bow hunters can't get it done. So they come in and they, like, in our area, they brought in sharpshooters over bait piles and they killed 380 deer.
I was just talking to
Can we verify that all that meat is getting used, or are they putting the carcasses in a dump trailer?
Oh, there's no way.
There's no, like, if you're killing 380 deer or even 180 deer.
That's so much meat. So I was just talking to, I'll keep the names anonymous, but I was just up the road here talking to a friend, and he was like, yeah, a guy called me up and says, I have so many deer on my property. They're killing my landscape. Can you please come take care of these? And he's like, sure. So he pulls in the driveway. It's 8 acres. He pulls in the driveway and there's a herd of 12 doe out in the front yard. He's like, oh my gosh, this guy does have a lot of deer. And then he goes, like, starts trudging through the back of the woods, and he bumps up like 3 buck right away. And then he sees like another 8 deer back in there. And then he comes up to the house to knock on the door to like talk to the guy. And as he knocks on the door and he looks over, and there's a pine tree up in the mulch bed, and he looks around the corner of the pine tree and there's a doe bedded right next to this guy's house. And it's like not far up the road from here, and it's like, so
I didn't tell you about that.
What?
The conversation he had with me.
Oh, really?
About here. That was here.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, no. What?
For reference, though, we do get it, but not as much this year, but in past years.
Yeah. Like,
I've had as many as 30 deer in the backyard.
which is crazy. Like, and that's so much,
In
right?
the suburbs.
You know, you have an option to do something about that. You look back there and you're like, buffet, easy pickings. I can shoot any one of those deer and they're all going to. And you know, if you do that enough, see, you're in a different boat because you know if you do that enough, they will stop coming here.
Yeah.
So you're very selective on what you're going to shoot. But somebody that's just like, oh, the deer are back and all my landscape is trashed again. That's Oakland County right now.
Yeah.
Between that, car wrecks.
I don't know if Oakland County's doing culls. Like, for instance, here they did a cull in January last year, and they took 800 yards from here they did a cull.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of deer that are here is way down.
Right.
Significantly. I'm talking we're missing 70 deer.
And now are they just shooting a doe or are they shooting everything?
I don't know. It depends on if the bucks drop antlers or not.
That's
they can't
true.
tell.
Well, it'd probably
They're
be February. February. I bet you they're shooting everything. I bet you they don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's the police department that does it. There's just a bunch of like
They're not supposed to shoot bucks, but
they don't care.
yeah, I don't know.
I love police officers. Everyone I talk to is a straight cowboy and a total bandit. Like police officers are so cool because they know the law well enough and they're like, yep, that's gay. I'm just going to break that one. And it's hilarious.
Mm.
It makes me laugh. But it's like stuff like that. They're like, oops, shot a buck.
Well, that's how we lose our 4.5-year-olds that we've been watching
Yeah.
for years around here.
Yeah. Hey, did the count show up this year or no?
No. Yeah.
Dead.
I don't know. Yeah, he probably got killed in the cull
Barney Fife got him.
with his pea shooter. Little 22.
Pulled his one bullet. Is that what they use?
Probably not.
I bet you they use 5.56.
I bet they use thermals. Either that or spotlights.
Man, dude, I wish I was a lawmaker so I could be above the law.
Right. Anyway, I really think it comes back to we care deeply. Here's the thing. We love deer so much, and we love the conservation aspect of deer. And we really love seeing deer get to their full potential and breed, and seeing these big bucks live and survive and stuff, and not killing 2.5 and 3.5-year-olds. You know, if nature does its thing, cool. But if we can prevent people from intervening, awesome. The problem is, I think a large, and I don't know what this percentage is, you have a large percentage of the population of hunters that is your dad's deer camp FUD, get a shotgun, go out in the woods one weekend out of the year, shoot whatever walks in front of you. And then you've got the other portion of the population that's like Levi Morgan, Chris B, whoever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Think about your average celebrity, Bone Collector, whatever it may be, Michael Waddell. You've got a lot of the population that's aspiring to be that. They're chasing mature deer. When they're going to shoot a doe, they're not shooting the fawn or the yearling. They're killing the 4 or 5-year-old breeder doe. You know, they're killing the biggest doe. They're taking it out of the gene pool and everything like that. I genuinely think we're in a spot in Michigan where there is nothing that can be done from a PR standpoint or an education standpoint to change the mindset of that larger demographic, because they genuinely don't care. Like,
they just need to die off.
I just don't think they care. But they're not going to die off because there's a large chunk of them that are in our age category.
You think so?
And they're teaching the young. Yeah, absolutely. The amount of Facebook posts I saw from people that are in their 20s to 30s that are killing 1.5 to 2.5-year-old bucks.
That's true.
I don't think they care. They don't have, and I've realized this is like, we get fired up about this every year, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Well, and I'm starting to get the clarity, and it's starting to make sense to me, and it's because people don't, there's a large majority of the demographic and population that don't care about it as much as we do. They're not as passionate about it as we are, and they never will be, no matter how much you try to get them excited about them, get them fired up about it. they're never going to change. They've got their Remington pump action with the dual barrel rifled barrel with a slug, and they're going to go out to public land, or they have a family friend who has 20 acres in Eaton Rapids, and they have permission to go out there and sit on a bucket on the field edge and kill deer. And they want one deer, and they're going to shoot that 6-point every single time it walks through, because that's just what it is. And unfortunately, the Midwest, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Midwest has idolized this nostalgia of deer camp and red plaid and going to the cabin and shotguns and sloppy joes and Stormy Cromer hats and like beer and, you know,
there definitely is something to that, because you start putting the camo on and you get all geared up, and there is a mentality that comes about it. You know, like people are just like, and it's deer killing time, and they get fired up about it, and they start slapping each other on the back, or like they just start talking about it. They're seeing their friends kill deer, and like they want to participate and be excited in it. And I get that.
I'm starting to realize it, because like even the people I'm around that go to deer camp,
camp is a wild experience.
People come to me, and it's like, I love it, because it's when November 15th is usually around November 5th or 6th is when people start coming and asking me questions as the deer expert. Like in the business world, they're like, oh yeah, you're a big hunting guy. I've got questions for you and stuff. And I'm giving them like softball answers of like just the basic information. And the mental awakening I've had of all of this, of like, holy crap, these people they don't know, but they also don't care. They don't want to go to the level we are. They have no interest in it.
So here's the other thing. I was talking to a feller the other night, and you know, he's old school. He loves like old school hunting. And when he grew up, he goes, "You were lucky to get a doe tag." And nowadays, he goes, there's people talk about so many deer, and he goes, he loves taking guys out to hunt and teaching them how to hunt and do it. And he goes, one, I'm struggling to get land. Like I'm struggling to get places to do it, because he goes, it's not hard for me to get opportunity to hunt on properties that are private. The second I say I'm bringing 5 guys, he's like, the landowner's like, nope. Understandable. So they go to public.
But I thought it's like, you're not bringing just one at a time?
I don't know. I think he goes out with like 4 or 5 guys, and he sits.
Well, yeah, because we live in a society that's everybody sues everybody.
Right. Yeah. As a landowner, I'd be like, no, get off of here. Like, don't come trouncing around here.
Yeah, you don't know. It's the same thing with the archery course. You know, we vet our people before they come out.
Right. But he goes, you know, he's had a few of these guys out, and they've been sitting, and they've sat, I don't know, 3 or 4 times and not even seen a deer. First of all, I don't know where they're hunting that's happening, but he's like, we're just having guys not see deer. And
down at the local Walmart.
So, you know, you get that mentality, and, you know, these guys aren't all in, but they're going out and just sitting, and they're excited, and they're like, they're doing it. They're trying, they're dabbling. You know, half of the art of hunting is just figuring out how to get on properties. You know, if you can get on properties and lock in land for yourself, it's like, we've been doing this for years, and that's a really tricky thing to do.
So are you saying that that's automatically getting them off in the wrong foot, to where it's like, I think their first 4 or 5 experiences hunting, they didn't see anything, and they saw one small doe. So it's like, as soon as they get a chance at something with antlers, they freaking pee their pants and shoot it.
Yep. They're like, there's a buck, kill the buck. And it's like, because even that sentence, kill the buck, it's like, I got a buck. It's like, oh yeah. You know, it has a different thing. Like, okay, I shot a deer. No, I shot a buck. You know, it rings different. It feels different. And it's like, there's a bravado that comes with it. There's a success. It's like, you didn't win the medal. You won the gold, you know? Well, it's like,
I could call you misogynist for making that statement.
What?
For always wanting to, like, because the male is superior.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm full on misogynist. Like, don't even care anymore. So Donald Trump won. I can say whatever the heck I want. Bleep it out, fags. So
The F word.
it's
How
funny.
I missed it so.
But like there is something about the statement of like I shot a buck and I got to grab the antlers, and it's like
Grab the antlers.
yes, it's awesome and it's super cool.
You're
but
not a real man until you can barely get your hand around the bases. Then you know you did it.
this is
Outside of
everybody.
that, we don't want to hear about it. Yeah.
So here they are.
The only kind
here
of-
they are on opening day.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. But I do understand that mentality. When you've been out hunting a few times and you haven't seen anything and it's been tough, and then you see not just a deer, like they'd be excited to see a deer. And like, this is how this guy's explaining it to me the other night. He goes, I cannot even get them on a deer, let alone a buck. So,
I believe that when we okay, so get this. When we first, I hunted 30 acres in Hazlitt at my in-laws' place for years,
Mhm.
2 or 3 years, and I never saw a single antler the whole time. And then when we moved here, the first 6-point I saw, like medium-sized 1.5-year-old 6-point, I about lost it. And then as soon as I knew there was a decent 8-point, like a 120s 8-point, I stopped caring about the 6 points because there's always something greater to aspire to.
and that's why I think it's a perspective shift, because and that's why I think social media is such a big thing in all this, because you see nobody wants to shoot this when this is walking around.
Right.
Nobody wants to shoot this when you have that 215-inch insane mega giant that Connor Goff just shot.
Shout out Connor.
Holy buckets, guy. 3 drop tines and a kicker. You're just a straight killer. I don't care what you shot that with. Good on you.
Crossbow.
He goes, pulls up, bang. My dad shot a buck the other night. We got him sitting in the
Great deer.
great deer. You know, older buck, older mature deer.
It had to have been a 3.5 at least.
Good deer, phenomenal. I was like, B-Rob, good job. I was 80 yards away in a different stand when he shot, and I kid you not, I thought he dropped his bow out of the tree. He's got Graham's old crossbow this year, and I'm heartbroken. He has a bow, and he decided, I'm not confident enough with this, so I'm going to go to a crossbow. And I'm like, just practice with the freaking bow.
We got to bring him to HQ and take him through the course.
Just keep flinging arrows until you can figure it. He's
We
like, I
need to-
can't figure out when to draw. And it's like, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
It's so freaking hard. That's why we do it.
You draw, and if it's too long, you let down, and then you redraw.
Well, he's like, I get pinned down every time. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you know how many years I don't shoot deer because I can't get it done?
Move slower. I will
Anyways.
say, there is a crazy moment where you're like watching the deer walk, and you're trying to simultaneously range in front of him, dial your sight, and get drawn back.
Mm-hmm.
That moment is amazing. Everything goes in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, he's using a crossbow this year. And I'm like, whatever. I didn't teach him to do that, but he's doing it. He shoots deer with a crossbow.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, I'm like, literally, he's like, call me gay. And I'm like,
not my dad.
you are. But
When he came to drop the skull off, he goes, "Oh yeah, Reed said I was a faggot."
I don't use the word that much every day.
No, just when we're talking about people killing deer with crossbows. If you're an able-bodied man, but here's the thing.
Oh,
Caveat: B-Rob has had shoulder surgery.
and he's just coming off the back end of a hernia surgery.
Yeah,
Still,
trying to pull 60 pounds with a hernia is no bueno.
it's just
That'll-
surprising he could pull my mom.
Nice.
Yep.
Gross.
Shoots a buck with the crossbow. I'm 80 yards away. And dude, I thought he dropped the bow out of the tree. It was so freaking loud. It was like, whack! And I'm like, what was that?
Isn't that bow pretty old though? Isn't that like
Yeah, it's
8 years old?
8-year-old
9 years
10
old?
point. So it's like, it's still a good bow.
Yeah, but it's not.
There's-
It's not like a new Raven.
I don't even know if the new Ravens are that quiet.
I guess I've never heard one other than it just dunk.
We were hunting early doe season. I was out with Todd Grishke, and him and I put a sweet stalk on a couple does, like just the most rush stalk I've ever been a part of, because like it was raining and they were coming at us. and we're just hunkered down, and they saw us and they wanted to figure out what we were, so they kept coming closer. And he ended up cracking a shot off at one, but he didn't have a range on it, so it didn't happen. But the only thing I could think of is like why I didn't think that bow was that loud is because it was shot in the rain. And I just think all the sound of the rain around me and that string actually getting dampened by the actual mist.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like when Dad shot his, I was like, wow. Back to my original point. The culture, I believe, is shifting because there is also I want to say that I'm really proud of my dad for that deer. He pulled it off phenomenal.
Yes.
Perfect heart shot. I mean,
yes.
Perfect heart shot.
I mean, it's not hard. You will just put the little crosshairs
20 yards away, pull the trigger. He shot it right in front of his trail cam too, so you can see the buck looking up like right before he gets shot. Got a picture of it.
And now he's got a brand new tri-blade bolt right through his trail cam.
Social media is shifting the culture because I think people now have a perspective on what they can actually shoot, what's out there. Like they have a visual of, okay, there are little deer. There's deer like this walking around. This is most of the deer in Michigan are this and smaller getting killed. But when people realize that the fact that you let this deer walk and he is like, you've been hot on him for the past 3 months or 2 months or whatever it's been, and he's much bigger this year. That journey and that perspective and that information and data is now out there at our fingertips where people can see, hey, here's the deer 2 years ago. You should see what it is now, and I killed it now, and this is how big he is. And when people are seeing bigger deer getting shot, they don't want to shoot a smaller deer. Like, they don't want to shoot something dinky unless they're really desperate or they just flat out don't know.
But then you've also got the demographic of people that are saying comparison and covetousness is the thief of joy. And so I'm going to be happy with the deer that I shoot. You can't eat the antlers.
I don't think that's like the argument. I think it's the people that just get too excited when the buck walks by. Like, I just think they get bored, and I think they just want to, they're like, I just want this to be over.
Here's the thing. We're talking about the weekend warrior. We're talking about the guy who can maybe sit 6 times in the season. He takes Friday opening day off, and then he's got Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the extent of his hunting season.
Yeah. He
wears the camo that he's had his whole life. Mm-hmm. And I'm, by all means, guys, I'm not knocking this. This is not me talking down. I am so thankful that people are able to get out in the woods and enjoy deer. Like, I'm all about that. So this is not me talking negative in any way about that. But you've got the guy. He's the weekend warrior. He can sit 6 times. He's got his old hand-me-down coverall camo with his blaze orange, and he's got his old shotgun, like tried and true, like just Michigan deer hunter. He has no trail cams. Mm-hmm. He has a property that he's not familiar with. He's got a rickety ladder stand that he's used for the same however many years, and he climbs up it in the morning, probably blowing deer out. He's just giddy. He just loves that cold feeling. He's got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for his all-day sit.
This is the vibe.
He loves that. He lives for that time to just get out in the woods and the quiet and enjoy it.
Are you a FUD sympathizer?
I'm not. No. I'm not. Here's the thing. I try to seek perspective in everything in life because I think that's something that we really need to do. No matter what the scenario is, if you seek perspective, it is like Nate Stump that one time was sitting in here on an episode, and he said, if you can completely debate the person that you're talking to from their perspective, and they can be like, yeah, absolutely, you've got it, then you're right. And so I try to put myself in that shoes.
Try to put myself behind the crossbow every now and again.
I'm just thinking about that weekend warrior. He's out there. It's a Saturday morning. He has absolutely no clue that there is a 125 to 140 walking around that property because he hasn't seen it. He hasn't done the research. He doesn't have Onyx. He doesn't have HuntWise. He doesn't know about scent control. He doesn't know about wind direction. He doesn't know. And he doesn't care to, because all he wants to do is sit in the stand, shoot a deer, and make chili for the Super Bowl. Like, that's what he wants. That is his sense of fulfillment, is to be able to have all his buddies over and have chili and Busch Light and say, I killed that deer. Here's the antlers.
But you don't think that our generation that's upcoming, that is so like dick measuring contest in everything. Like, we're just who can show that they make the most money, who can present the best lifestyle, who can have the most perfect family. They're not going to be sitting there going, I'm not going to shoot that deer because there's not enough clout behind it.
I think there's a lot of people in our generation that are getting away from social media because of the toxicity of it, because of the comparison, because of you're comparing your real life to someone's highlight reel. I think they're getting away from it because the amount of people our age that I have seen on Instagram and Facebook feeds that are killing 50 to 70 inch deer is insane, in the dozens.
See, I'm really not on a whole lot of social media anymore.
It's not Instagram, because the algorithm I'm in are big boys. They're all big
Right.
boys. But Facebook doesn't lie.
Well,
Facebook, like, it's hard for me to knock because their kids are standing there grinning ear to ear with daddy, and I'm just like, your dad is a FUD and you don't know it.
well, that is the part that, like, you know, all debates and all what I would say selfish desires aside, if I really step back and think about it, it's like most of the dudes that I know that are killing small deer aren't just like, oh yeah.
That's one. That guy's been hunting his entire life. He grew up in a hunting family. He goes out with his buddies and hunts. Give it back. I'll go to the next one.
I was going to say, even the body of the deer is facing the wrong way. But he's got his little girl with him, and he's like, core memory.
Exactly. That's like where I'm torn.
And that's, yeah. So the fact that a guy like that is sitting there just beaming with joy, it's so hard to say, like, you can't do that. But simultaneously, if I look at conservation as a whole, you need more deer killed.
I will remember you.
That's literally the size of my first buck. Like, that's what it looks like.
Do you know how many deer like that I've spit on that have walked underneath my? I've literally dropped I've literally dropped a loogie on 8 deer that size.
But dude, look at.
And I feel like such a douchebag for saying that, but
the fact that it's like, there's a dude. Literally everything he's wearing is orange, but his boots. Wow, he's a creamsicle. Well, good on you. You know, but here's the part that I'm like, here's what I'm looking at as I dig deeper. I'm seeing everything's orange.
We just need to do a highlight reel of fart noises with each one of those pictures.
Dude, his kids are just so stoked.
I know. That's what pisses me off.
I know. And now that I'm a professional dad.
Here's the thing. The kids don't know a difference between a 60-inch deer and a 150s. It could be a freaking Boone and Crockett, and they would be just as happy. And that...
well, it looks like this guy shot a decent deer, too.
That one, yeah, it's like... yeah. It's right, like
he's
right on
at
that
the
line.
ears, like... And his kid looks just as excited, and his baby looks very much, who cares? But if I look at conservation as a whole, if you want to draw more hunters to the state, bring more tags in, increase the revenue, have more deer killed, you need to produce bigger buck. Bigger buck are better genetics, better herd health. Better herd health is killing more doe. So it's like, it all does boil back down to like, hey, we need to stop shooting small bucks because it does not help the continuation of this sport, of this outdoor, of this lifestyle, if you want to call it that. You know, there's a lot of guys that are doing it as a hobby. There's a lot of guys that do it for sport. And then there's us freaks that are doing it as a lifestyle. It's like, we think about this all year long. And these guys don't think about it all year long. They think about, well, I'm going to make chili on Super Bowl Sunday with the Forky that I killed.
Right.
And yeah, you're not going to weed out all of them, but the fact that it's like, I think Michigan undoubtedly has some of the best deer habitat, and we're still producing small deer because we're killing small deer. And then you got a couple guys that manage their herds extremely well, and they're just killing absolute studs.
Here's the thing. If you're an average Joe and the best deer on your property that you've seen, because going back to, you don't have trail cams, you don't scout, you don't know what scrapes and rubs and all of that stuff are. You don't even have, like, the amount of guys I've talked to where it was like I had a conversation today where they're like, hey, we're on the edge of this bean field. I got my shotgun and this massive 10-point walked in the tree line. And I stupidly looked at him and I said, well, did you grunt or snort wheeze or like do anything to try to call him in? And they're like, what's that? Exactly. You should see the look on Reed's face right now. Exactly.
I'm going to talk just so people can see the wide-eyed, dumbfounded
That's
look.
that's what I'm saying though. It's just like there's a large portion of the population that it is that all they know and understand is the deer camp education that they got from their alcoholic uncle and their dad and maybe their grandpa.
Yeah.
It's and I wouldn't necessarily, and I'm trying to figure out if that's a culture problem or if it's just a lack of education problem. Because if the biggest deer on your property is a 70-inch 6-point, are you going to be excited about that? Or are you going to look at that deer and say, I'm going to let that deer go for 3 more years and that's going to be a massive deer? It's hard to look ahead,
right,
because of the instant gratification of our society.
Right.
So I don't know what the solution is. But my question would be, by all, like, say for instance, like that number that we're working with, 122,000 bucks have been killed and 62,000 does have been killed.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to make that an even number, so if it was 100,000 and 100,000, do you think we would naturally within 2 years have bigger bucks?
Yeah. I think if you have less buck being killed, there's a higher percentage of bigger buck walking. You cut down, let's say you make it even. You kill 40,000 less buck this year. That's 40,000 more buck that become not 2.5, but 3.5. Not 1.5, but 2.5. And there's typically a big jump between 2.5 to 3.5.
Yeah, a mediocre. Depending on the genetics, I'd say your biggest
small
jump,
deer
3 to 4 is massive.
You go from small deer to respectable deer in Michigan because, that's all that we see.
It is hard to convince somebody to let a 3.5-year-old walk.
Yes, I get a 3.5-year-old in front of me, and I'm like,
yeah,
but
you start questioning your sanity at 3.5.
Correct, but I got a couple 4.5 and 5.5s on camera.
If you've seen a 3 to 5 jump, holy smokes!
Whoa.
Like, we're talking all of a sudden in 1 year, a good genetic deer will put 20 more inches on.
And dude,
in 1 year,
the bodies on them.
Yes, you're gonna get so much, and that's the thing though. Like, how do you communicate to somebody who is a meat hunter? Like, if you shoot that 6-point, you're gonna get 42 pounds of meat. If you wait and let that deer go to 3.5, you're going to get 72 pounds of meat.
Yeah.
Make that make sense to me. Double the deer, 2 more years.
Another point in the camp of let them walk. But dude, I got a couple deer that I've watched for the past few years, and they are absolute toads. I mean, they're so freaking fat. And the only way I can tell how wide they are is, you figure
their belly dragging on the corn.
You figure what, 16 inches ear tip to ear tip, right? Is that typical how you run it? Pull out the tape measure.
Travis is retarded, so he's
that's
how
20. That's how I've always estimated 16 inches from outside of the ear to outside of the ear. And so I got a couple deer. I got a deer right now that I've watched for 2 years. The prodigal is all of 27 inches wide. And then you put that down to his body and it's just fat.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fat.
Thicker than Kim K.
Seriously.
And a bowl of oatmeal.
It's awesome when you see these deer get big, and then you see like, you know, a respectable
But
deer.
what about the guy who hasn't ever seen a deer get that big? Other than photos and videos.
I think that's just where it's like, this is the tricky part.
You have to see it in person before you have that perspective.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you see it on video, YouTube, or a photo. It doesn't change it. You have to do it in person.
I was talking to Casey today about this deer that he was talking about down in, I think it was Kansas.
Shout out Casey Crispin,
dude,
American Archer.
The guy's the best.
He's the man. If you are in the mid-Michigan area and you need your bow tuned, Demer Center at MSU is the spot for you.
He's so freaking funny, dude. I love that guy. And he's telling me about this deer that he saw down like in Kansas on this property that they're hunting. And the buck's name is Larry. And he goes like, he showed me this picture of a deer that had like it busted off in velvet, and then it kind of like grew back. So it's almost like the brow or the main beam comes out and it goes into like an E.
Whoa.
It's super cool. So he's got like this E sticking out on this side, and then it like pokes straight up because it busted.
Dang, how many deer do you know of that bust something off in velvet? That's cool.
Yeah. So like, and the deer's big. It's like 160, you know, like big deer.
You said Kansas?
Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. And so beautiful deer, right? 160 to 170.
That's a 1.5-year-old.
I think it's like 160 to 170 is what he was saying. And then he goes, they're showing him this picture of this other deer. And, you know, Casey's like, oh yeah, you know, like that deer will go 190 all day. Or like, you know, 180, like good deer. Or actually, no, I think he called it a 170. And they all looked at him sideways. They're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, like looks 170. They're talking about this Larry buck, and they're like, dude, this deer we're estimating is at like 210.
As he stands?
As he stands. And he's like, what are you talking about? And
he's comparing it to Michigan.
No. He then they swiped on the trail camera, and it was a side-by-side of that busted buck and Larry. And that busted buck's big. It's got a, you know, maybe like,
oh, I'm sorry. I thought Larry was the busted buck.
No. There's the busted buck, and like, you know, he was like 160. Then they show another picture of Larry, and he's like, yeah, you know, 170, maybe 180. And they're like, dude, there's no, like, this deer is seriously 200 plus inches. And he's like, there's no way. They show a side by side of the busted buck and Larry is legit 350 pounds of pure buck. Like, he is huge.
It's, yeah.
And it dwarfs his rack.
It makes his rack look small.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah.
So,
body size matters.
Yeah. And so, like, but like when you don't have perspective on what I don't know what a 350 pound deer looks like. Like, that's huge.
The biggest deer I've ever seen or shot was the buck I shot last year.
Yeah, and that thing was a hoss.
I've never huffed and puffed that much just hauling a deer 60 yards.
He was probably what, 250?
Maybe more.
He was
you and I were sucking wind by the time we got him to the trail.
He was 250 to 275 easy. Like,
that was a big deer.
Yeah, and like just a toad.
I mean, I don't know if freezing meat adds more poundage, but I weighed my laundry basket full of the meat, and
pulled 80 pounds off him, didn't you?
I think it was closer to 90. It was It was like 87.9 pounds.
Because the most I've pulled off of a deer was 77.
Previous to that year of 70, high 70s was, and that was a big buck. So that blew my mind.
Yeah, and like that's mature. That same genetics that I'm talking about with this deer this year. I mean, like just fat.
Why don't we go for body size then? Like why? Like
because racks are cooler. Racks last. Meat doesn't.
That is true.
You know, if you're a meat hunter, like once again, if you're a meat hunter, I talked to the guys like, why don't you just shoot a doe? And a friend of mine recently, he's like, dude, I just shoot the first thing that comes by. Okay. If it's a buck, cool. If it's a doe, whatever.
Same thing with the guy that's sharing the property with me. He's sitting there, and we had this 6-point with this big spike. I called him Fish Hook. And Saturday morning, Fish Hook comes walking through his shooting lane, chasing 2 mature does, and he shoots the buck. And I texted him. I said, "Hey, heard you shot Fish Hook. Congrats, super cool deer." Kind of like not excited about it. And he responds and said, "He's meat."
Just a piece of meat.
Yeah, he's like, "He's meat. ... Was chasing after 2 does when I shot him." It's just like,
shoot the doe.
Yeah. What about the 2 does? You could have given him the 1-2 taparoo and had double the meat, my guy. Exactly. I genuinely think, though, people don't. That this is where I've come to after like 2 or 3 years of us really analyzing. Like, we're passionate about this. Don't get me wrong. I just think there is half of the population that cares about it and half the population that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because we care about it because we love. It's not just big bucks that we love. We're not just trophy hunters. You can peg us as that. That's totally fine.
I'll gladly accept the title of trophy hunter. I think it's an honor.
But the caveat with trophy hunter is we care about the conservation. Mm-hmm. We care about seeing these deer get to their peak potential and spreading their genes amongst sowing their seed.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you educate that other percentage of the deer hunter population in Michigan without looking like you have more time than I do. You have more resources than I do. You are a trophy hunter. You have property. You're trying to convince the guy who is trying to fill his freezer and slug it out on public land just so he can say just so he can enjoy some time in the woods. Like, he just doesn't care. It's like in my mind, most of the time it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of changing somebody's mind. It's like, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So if you have somebody that you could explain this kind of stuff to them till you're blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, if they genuinely don't have the passion for it and the excitement and the enjoyment that we do, nothing's going to change. And that's where I think Michigan's at.
This is really what it comes down to. Is it does come back to the concept or the truth that it's like it has to come down to regulation.
Correct.
And
they have to incentivize killing. They have to incentivize killing does.
Dude, I as much as I don't like it, I am getting to the point where it's like I think earn a buck is the only way to do it, because it's like you have to shoot a doe first, and that sucks because it's like I don't want to have to do that, but you have.
I do. I'd be honored.
I'll gladly do it, and I've done it. But what I'm saying is, like, if my target deer comes out on day one right in front of me, like, just so happens, like, frick, I got to shoot the doe and I got to pass on him, and maybe I don't get a chance at him. That sucks.
What if you get fined? Like, what if your buck tag is automatically activated from day one, but by the end of the season you're legally obligated to fill a doe tag, and if you don't fill that doe tag, you get fined $500.
That ain't it. If you don't fulfill,
you gotta get the rears in gear somehow. You gotta put monetary number on it.
I'm just saying, like, I think earn a buck is the easiest thing because it's like more doe die, point blank, right out of the gate, boom, early seed. Like all the passionate doe hunters or all the passionate bow hunters are gonna kill their does really early.
Those are one and the same, passionate bow hunters and passionate doe hunters.
Yes.
Yep.
Like they're gonna get out of the way, boom, done, and then they're gonna hunt happily for the rest of the season.
I killed 2 on opening day. They came out right where I knew they were going to. I killed 2. Boop, done. With 1 arrow.
Oh, we're going to talk about that?
We can.
Okay. Caleb got a double kill.
Double kill. On opening day.
Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, super sweet.
Very cool. A mama and baby.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, so
they are together.
Anybody that makes an argument, well, I don't want to
kill the big bean field in the sky.
I don't want to kill a mommy deer because the baby won't have anything to go by. First of all, it's bullcrap. Second of all, you can just kill both of them, as proven by Caleb through a lung shot and a freaking neck shot.
Not gonna lie. 2 weeks later, when the other baby came out by itself to the same acorn spot, it was a little sad. I go back and visit mama every once in a while.
Sniff her blood. But what were we talking about? Oh, just get the doe done out of the way, and then
here's the thing, though. We're bow hunters. The gun the gun hunters don't have that option because the deer are running 1,000,000 miles an hour.
That's true.
Also, speaking of which, significant lack of gunshots this year.
What?
Not at
Yeah,
your end.
right. Holy smokes. Opening night.
I'm hearing less than, I mean, I guess it's not the weekend, but I'm hearing less than 3 every night.
Opening evening, the day before opener, when my dad shot his buck, we're sitting in the stand, and this is like directly on either side of me. I probably heard a total of 25 shots that night, but
How many bullets did you hear, though?
none. We can talk about that. On either side of me, probably like a quarter mile to the east and a quarter mile to the west, I heard 12 shots. And I'm like, freaking, first of all, quiet period. Hello. Second of all,
fun fact, did you guys know, like, November 10th?
4 days before.
Yeah, 4 days. So it's November 11th
Mhm.
through the 14th is technically Michigan's quiet period where you're not supposed to fire a deer rifle.
You can't even transport it. Like, you can't have it in your truck ready to roll. Like, I was reading through the regulations. It's really, really strict.
They need to try to be stricter about it,
Uh-huh.
or at least educate people, because a lot of yahoos out there.
The night before, I saw somebody, like, they posted, like, hey, hunters, when do y'all sight it, or when do you sight in your rifles? And everybody's like,
Before I walk out.
seriously, they're like, night before, if I'm lucky. It's like, you guys are dumb.
Here's the thing: if you know anything about firearms, you shouldn't have to sight in your firearm. It should already be dialed.
Yeah.
That
Or,
means you blow the dust off your slope. Ready to go.
or you can just be Caleb Opper and walk a 7 mag out to 700 yards
That's true with a crooked scope.
with a crooked scope.
It's like, some people got it, some people just don't have it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't have it, just hang it up. Go buy a burger from the store.
Yeah. Anyways, all sorts of new fun things that happen, but we've probably been going 2 hours?
Not even hour and a half.
Oh, we're right on track.
Right on track.
Lots of new things. We need to get back down in here again because Matthews just dropped new bows. Casey says they're trash.
Has he touched them yet?
No, but he's like, they did too much. We'll talk about it another episode.
Well, no, it's taking away job security because you can now tune them yourself.
No, he's like, they adjusted too many things. They're like, they're going to be junk. Don't touch them yet. So,
I'd love to get my hands on one.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just missing out on that $30 an hour paper tuning revenue
No kidding.
because now we can do it in the basement.
So,
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. We're hopefully going to start getting guests lined up here. Season has been pretty wild and gotten away from us. And we also have a newly married dad in the pod bunker here. So that was a change. But anyway, hopefully getting back on this train here of dropping episodes more regularly. I know you guys have been missing it. So thanks so much for sticking with us throughout the drought this summer. We've got some really cool people lined up in the first quarter of 2025 to have on. So stay tuned for that. We're going to try to drop episodes on Tuesdays. As always, Ataso.outfitters is our Instagram. And then we also have AtasoOutfitters.com is our website. That's where our merch store is at. If you guys, anything that you purchase kind of goes to keep us on the air, whether it's the podcast or the archery course, and getting people out here and pouring back into conservation in every way we can. Our goal is to cultivate a new generation of hunters by collaborating with like-minded individuals, at the end of the day benefiting conservation. So that is that's our mantra, is collab, cultivate, conserve. Thanks for tuning in. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to share the show with somebody if you enjoyed it, had a laugh, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. See you later.